Beneath the calm surface of northern Michigan's lakes, aging infrastructure is quietly forcing county leaders into a high-stakes decision that could reshape who pays, how much, and for what. What sounds like routine dam maintenance is quickly turning into a political, financial, and legal puzzle with consequences that could ripple across Grand Traverse County. So here's Jim Horn to give you the details.
Hey everyone, welcome to Traverse Talks. I'm Jim Horn. I want to walk you through an issue that sounds pretty technical on the surface, but actually has real consequences for lake levels, property owners, and taxpayers here in Grand Traverse County. It's about the chain of lakes, some aging dams over in Antrim County, and why our county commissioners are hitting the pause button and thankfully asking a lot of questions. So, exactly what is the chain of lakes? Think of the chain of lakes as a connected water system that starts upstream in Antrim County and eventually flows out to Lake Michigan. But a couple of those lakes, Elk Lake and Lake Skagamog, I hope I got that right, sit partly in Grand Traverse County. So what happens upstream absolutely affects the people here. So what controls the water level in those lakes? Well, there are two main dams. One's in Elk Rapids, and that one directly controls Elk Lake and Lake Skagamog. The other is in Bel Air, and that's further upstream, and it's there to manage heavy water coming down through the system, especially during the big rain events that we frequently have here in Grand Traverse County and actually up in northern Michigan. So why is everybody talking about this now? Well, the engineers are saying parts of those dams, especially the spillway in Elk Rapids, are wearing out. And Antrim County wants to fix them before we end up with an emergency instead of a planned repair. That is a good idea. So if the dams are in Antrim County, why does Grand Traverse County have a say in this? Well, because those dams control lake levels that affect Grand Traverse County residents. Shoreline homes, docks, boating, wetlands, all of that depends on those structures doing their job. So Grand Traverse County has a big stake in this, even though the dams aren't physically in our county. So where's the disagreement? It's not about whether the dams need fixing. Everyone agrees they do. The concern is that Grand Traverse County is being asked to share in the cost, and this is the kicker, without really knowing how big the project is and how much it's going to cost, or exactly what parts of the infrastructure is Grand Traverse County going to be paying for. All very good questions, right? So what about federal grants? And here's the wrinkle. The Elk Rapids Dam generates electricity, not very much. That disqualifies it from most grants, but it doesn't generate nearly enough money to pay for major repairs. So the money has to come from somewhere else, and you can only guess where that's going to be. Most likely on sit-tight residents over there at Elk Lake and Lake Skagamog, most likely from a special assessment district, which means charging shoreline property owners. The problem is that assessment district was created decades ago by a court order. It's barely been used, and it may not even meet current legal standards without being rewritten. You can see there's going to be a big legal battle here, especially when you're repairing a dam. That doesn't cost tens of thousands of dollars. Usually it's into the millions. So why are the commissioners so cautious about this? Because only about 15% of the affected shoreline is in Grand Traverse County. that means a relatively small group of residents could be asked to pay a very large bill. And commissioners don't want to agree to anything until they know the true scope and cost, which is really very good. So the question I suppose everybody is asking, listening to this podcast, is this urgent or the dam's about to fail? No one is saying there's going to be an imminent failure, but they are saying the work needs to happen. And the feeling among commissioners is, let's slow down, get the facts, and not get forced into a bad decision later, which could cause, a lot of grief for the residents around the lake, but more importantly, putting the Grand Traverse County residents on the hook for a big bill. So, does this raise any bigger issues? Yeah. It highlighted that Grand Traverse County doesn't really have a long-term, expert-driven plan for managing water levels and hydrology. And several commissioners said this might be the moment to start thinking bigger and more regionally. Yay! Good idea, folks. So, where does that leave us? Grand Traverse County isn't saying no, and it's saying just not yet. Commissioners want clearer numbers, clearer responsibilities, and protections for residents before signing on to anything. This is one of those quiet infrastructure stories that you don't hear about until something breaks. And the goal here is to make sure that never happens. And I would suggest you keep an eye on Commissioner Nelson. This is in his district. I'm sure he is going to be lobbying for the best possible deal for the residents in his district that surround the lake over there. However, the deal that he might want to get for the residents might not necessarily be the best deal for Grand Traverse County residents, whether it's East Bay, Acme, Long Lake, or Garfield. Anyway, we're going to stay on top of this story, and we're going to see what happens going forward. I'm Jim Horn. This is Traverse Talks. Have yourself one great week.